The login
I
part.
already got to the login part and I'm
Okay.
like, what the hell?
I really appreciate that you guys help with this now. So sometimes
Well,
in the
that
past,
was
I've
like
had
this.
We can't sleep on the couch at night in the living room because the dogs are up, and they're very friendly.
All right,
I joined your meeting.
thank you. Recording started.
Click on the camera real quick
Hold
up
on, let me
here.
just minimize
It's
this.
a cool color like this. Oh, thank you. It's there we go. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Switch it out for another one.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to see. Is it? It's showing the room. Okay.
I went with the
Okay,
restaurant.
now you're
It goes in the
showing,
dark,
and you
which
have
is-
your
It does. Oh my God. That is gorgeous actually. It's easy to color.
presentation ready.
Oh, it's not. Yeah. I was looking at it once or something, but I'm going to color it. I might miss next week.
Okay, there we go. So
Because we're flying
they see yours and then you have to click on the little.
if everything goes smoothly, which it usually doesn't.
Okay.
If it
I
does.
think things are okay.
Where's your sister? Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
We just flew up the week from Florida, because she's going to Florida, that's fly out there.
Is it everything's okay?
I think everything is fine, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's fine.
So the timing works, 'cause it's 3 hours earlier than later.
Right.
Able to walk on at 1 o'clock, we'll see.
How do you leave from home? 5?
Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Just
7.
a minute or two.
Is it 4?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 4.
Well, then we're there.
Who else said they were coming? So 1, 2.
We have 3. Actually, we only have 2.
We only have 2 board
Three,
members.
4.
Yeah.
Voting board members.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
okay.
have 2.
Yeah,
Anthony and Judy don't vote.
yes,
It
correct.
is 2 minutes till 1.
Yeah, we have time.
Little's game is 4 and she's 20 inside.
Email.
Oh,
Check.
well,
It's a
and then there's a 7-year-old.
to take you to where.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. So I'm
Get
gonna
there.
By 4 o'clock.
Yeah, by 4 o'clock.
But we've got to get
I
to stage
tried to
almost.
set it up, but I mean, if you were doing that
14-year-old's a
during the
little over
meeting,
to the
it
dark
makes
side,
sense.
but she'll take
Oh,
us to
okay.
The
a
first
little
2
bit.
pages, how long the first candidate,
That's
answer question
crazy.
number 1. Answer number
Yeah,
2.
my
Answer
daughter's
number 3.
very.
I said, wow, if I get in there, I could break it down.
Yeah, I mean, I Jonathan knows
And by the
that.
time you get to the end,
If
there's
I
like
work
rock.
on it.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good.
Welcome to parenthood, it's gonna be like that forever, right? Cause she was kind of, she wasn't how long. But she. And she got apologized for that. My mother used to say, talk back to her, I got all these businesses to do, and I did. So I told my daughter that, she goes, I guess it's gonna happen to me too. Hello.
I can't even.
Doing my reading and sounds of ours on this morning, the one for people who were unable to read print materials. And one of the news briefs about the library's new windows, I was excited to read that.
Did you look at them when you came in?
I didn't, I was afraid it was gonna be a night site.
Down on that end of the building
Is
is
it
where they
right?
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the front there.
Oh, well, I'm gonna take a look afterwards.
We had them start in a staff area
Uh-huh,
to kind of get their rhythm down, which I think they're doing now.
cool.
Because there was a little bit of head scratching when the project started, so.
Oh, yeah,
Well, there's always
Yeah.
during kind of construction thing.
yeah.
I think it seems like they're already getting their system down. as they move along to the other windows that are next.
Have they found any problems yet? I expected some of the beams and stuff to be rotted away.
It looked to me like everything was very rotted when they were taking stuff out, but I mean, they were replacing with metal, so they didn't have to save the
No, I mean,
window frames,
not the window frames, but the
the building
structural
itself.
beams
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that stuff that goes through the windows.
Yeah, I don't know if there have been those issues. I haven't heard about them, but I guess Amelia would be the one here. She's our project manager for that. Oh, good. We have
I just connected to the library's Wi-Fi and it said the connection is not secure. Do you want to proceed? I did, and it's fine. I don't know what's it seems kind of odd.
Yes, we're online now. I just did.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, we have enough now.
Is Frank anticipating to be here or no?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't hear from him that he wasn't gonna be.
Because otherwise then Lisa can start
Listen,
the,
if anything's wrong. Okay.
thank you, Mike.
All right. Should I just call this meeting to order at 1:04? Whatever time it is.
Yeah, it's 102.
1:02, okay.
Yeah.
At 1:02.
I think Frank had a little trouble getting in last time, so he might bounce in later, but
Good.
yeah, might as well start.
All right, so roll call.
Yes. So first off, can everyone hear us okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
All right, perfect. So roll call, Frank Garcia, Lisa Gainey,
Here.
Supervisor Judy Begay. Saw her. Council member Anthony Garcia.
Good afternoon, guys. I am here. It's pleasant to meet you. All right, pleasant to see you. Sorry.
Pamela Buzzard,
Present.
Shannon Greenwood,
Here.
Catherine Moore,
Here.
and David Portree.
Here.
All right.
For mini stuff, sorry. Let's see, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from February 26th.
You forgot the chart.
So, if everybody needs a minute to read it, or if you're ready, can make a motion to approve the minutes from February 26th.
Starla, while I can hear you, there's almost something else that is louder than your voice that and I don't know if it's like something hitting the table. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you.
Can you hear now?
Yeah, now of course it's totally silent and great, but
Oh, we did get somebody in the room who just arrived, so it could have been that.
okay.
Oh, that's right.
No worries.
At least we know the noises. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26th?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, then minutes you accepted. All right.
Oh, and public participation.
Let's see, the second first one. I guess I skipped that. Sorry, do we have any public participation? Anybody online or in here? Doesn't look like it. No. So the next thing is information communications disclosures, and the first thing is Linda's director's report.
All right, well, a couple of things that didn't make it into this report that I will include in communications. One is we have received 49 proposals to do the art on our new bookmobile.
Wow.
And many of those are local, many more than are not local. So it's super exciting that there's that much interest. And we went through those proposals yesterday, was it just yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And So now the people on the panel are all gonna go through and fill out scoring sheets, so that we can select the artist that does the art on the bookmobile. The other big news item, which is not in my director's report, but is worth noting, is that the windows are being put in at the library downtown here. And it's super exciting to see some of those new windows going in. Maybe a little alarming when we first just saw them all being taken out. Is this gonna work well? But the new windows look great. So that is very exciting.
And it was announced in the newspaper today, as I was saying earlier, so. Cool.
And then I'll just highlight a few things in the report that was in your packet. You can see that on page 1, Youth Services did a blind date with a book display in February, which was very fun. I love that idea. I've seen it done a few times before, but not necessarily for Valentine's Day. I thought that was a fun tie-in there. And also of note, under reference, the Chocolate Walk brought 142 participants to the downtown library. So that was a real nice turnout and a way to get people in the library who might not have ever been in the library. You know, chocolate has an effect on people. Use it when you can. On page 2, update on the temporary space for East Flagstaff Community Library. We did create an intent to vacate letter to share with Coconino Community College. And as a part of that letter, we're asking for hopefully great flexibility in when we can leave that lease and move to a space that we're able to locate. The other piece that there's an update on is the one property that we've identified so far that looks like it could be workable for a library over off of Portland and Country Club. The city realtor has sent a letter of interest to the landlord of that space. So right now we're in negotiations, talking a little bit about what improvements they might do, talking about what the leasing rate might be, et cetera. So things are happening. Hopefully it will work out soon. And then under county libraries, I thought it was pretty exciting that our bookmobile librarian, Becca, her work was highlighted in the, you have to remind me, what's PEO records stand for? Uh-oh. We don't know, but we know it was in a publication, a magazine.
An educational magazine for people who get scholarships and women, professional women.
Okay. And a quote from that, through her work, she brings knowledge, connection, and opportunity to others, which is just so true about the bookmobile. So that was lovely. On page 3, I did mention under staff news that the first set of interviews for library director were held on March 16th. And today there was a panel of the 3 finalists this morning over in city council chambers. And so each of the candidates spoke about their qualifications, answered questions. Staff had attended, some friends of the library members, foundation members. So we had a good group on hand to view all of these potential candidates and give feedback. And then following that, there was one more set of interviews. And so the hope is that a decision will be made by next week.
Wow.
So before you leave?
Almost. Yeah, I mean, my last day is Wednesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, but not like some huge lag or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the updates that I wanted to highlight. Did anyone have any questions about those or other things in my report? I'm happy to answer. Okay, I don't see any questions, so.
Okay, so if there's no questions, it looks like, oops. I gotta hit myself away from the agenda. Let's see. It looks like we have something about IT from Mark.
Yeah.
IT update.
So hello, everyone. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Mark Caesar. I'm the library IT manager. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about all the things that the IT staff do. But the first thing, of course, is where do you start with a presentation like this? Library IT started because many years ago, when the library district was new and computers were new, talking early 90s here, there was not adequate technology support in most of the county. So if you had a library out in the middle of nowhere, like say Tuba City, there was nobody there to work on the computers. So we had to provide something. And at the time, the city didn't want to touch it, county didn't want to touch it. Ergo, they created library IT. And we got our own IT department to address just the libraries. And it's been that way ever since. And so that's where we began at many, many years ago.
I love that cartoon, I'm sorry to interrupt, because does anybody know what that was the first line of? A Wrinkle in Time. One of my favorite all-time books. Sorry to interrupt.
So here is just the reporting tree for the IT staff. You can see me there in the middle, and I report directly to the library director, Linda, for another week. And then with me, I've got 4 people that work with me. I have Mike Brown and Tori Todicine, and they're both our IT analysts. They handle all the software packages, the big things that we do. And then we have Mike Willie, who is our network administrator, and Dave Botts, who is our application support specialist, which doesn't really describe what he does. He's our web guy and our database guy. He handles all of that online communications to make all of our things talk to each other. So that's the group. And as you can see, we've been here for quite a while.
Yeah.
Mike's been here at this library for 31 years. He was actually here when we got our very first public PC. It was back in the early 90s. InfoMagic was one of our ISPs here in Flagstaff at the time. And they donated it to the library. So we were the first library in Arizona to have a public access internet computer. Just one. But he was here for that. And then and of course, I've been here 19 years. Mike and Dave both came on about 16 years ago. And then Tori, we just added last year. And Tori's main focus now is our public computer labs. As you know, with technology, things change all the time. Back 19 years ago when I started, your browser updated once every 3 months, once every 6 months. Now it's once every other week. Keeping up with all those kind of changes and keeping all of our public access computer labs up to date has turned into a full-time job. Hence, we hired Tori. We stole him from NAU. And then the other part about that is this one is never stop learning because life never stops teaching. That's especially true in IT. It's true in life in general. But with IT, there's always something new coming around the bend that was new. I mean, years ago, you wouldn't think you could do things that you do on your phone now. When you think that the iPhone didn't come out until like 2008, 2007.
2007.
Yeah. And it's like now people can't live without it. But it's the same with all of our software packages. There's always updates. They aren't changing security concerns, everything. So we are constantly updating all of our skill sets that we have. We attend trainings as much as we can. Being IT, we do most of that online. But if necessary, we do travel and go to classes. Great. So our scope. We handle all the libraries in the library district in one way or another. We do everything for some, we do almost nothing for others. It's all a matter of what that library needs. So if you're quick, you'll notice that the little triangle, colored triangles match on the map as to where that library is. And as you can see, our farthest library away is Fredonia, and that's 200 miles. It's a long drive to go there, so we do as much work as we can remotely. We have tools, which I'll get into in a little bit, that allow us to connect to their computers at that site remotely, do updates, do software installs, look for problems, and we can do that right here from our desk. A lot of their tools we have are simply in the cloud, so everything just talks there, and we've been working that way for many years now. But those are all the libraries that we serve.
What are the different colors?
The colors just match up on the map for
Because there's a whole bunch
locations.
of like navy blue ones.
Oh, they're all Flagstaff.
Oh, okay.
All the blue ones are circling around Flagstaff.
Represents, okay.
Yeah, because here in Flagstaff, we have this library, the East Library, the jail library, which is over by Sawmill. We have the law library, which is just down here in the county courthouse. And that's a new one. We just added them. So I'll talk about them in just a minute here. And of course, the county bookmobile, although it travels the whole county, it's based here in Flagstaff. And then scale is the next thing. When we're, there's an email from someone. I didn't see the, can you check
Is it?
the chat?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought everyone was in. Click on people. That'll show you if there's anybody in the waiting room. Nope. Okay, it looks like everybody got in. Okay, it looks like everybody got in. There's a lot of information in that little chart there. The really important stuff is down at the bottom. And that shows that we have 370 computers in our network. And that changes. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. But 80% of those are direct public service computers. The other 20% are the things that are indirect public service, because everything the library does is public service. So 20% of them are the staff computers, servers, things like that, versus the public computers, which are, the public internet computers, the print release stations, the microfilm machine, the scanning stations, all that stuff, where people actually sit down.
Oh,
Oh, there's Frank.
Let me do this with my right hand this time.
It'll go away one building. There it goes. And then there is also a breakdown in the computers there as to how many are at each site. And the only thing of interest there really is you notice down towards the bottom there's Sedona Public Library. We don't really support their computers, but because they're part of our district, we'll buy the hardware for them. So we buy it, hand it over. That's why we don't count those as numbers that we support. The same with the city of Page. We don't support their staff machines. We do their public machines. There's no reason for their staff to reinvent the wheel that we have for all the public access computers. But for their staff, they wanted them to be able to interact with the rest of the city and not be on a separate network. So it made sense for them, for the staff computers to be moved over to the city, and that's the way it is there. And that's the same as the Coconino Law Library, which is now time to talk about. Last year, the librarian at the Coconino Law Library, which is the Legal Self-Help Center, that's the name on the door. It's like many libraries, they have different names. But the law library wanted to implement a pay system for their printing to recoup that cost. That was their first thing. And then their second thing is the courts are changing how cases are administered. So now if you need to submit any kind of documentation or evidence, you need to scan it in and submit it digitally. So they wanted that ability at their library, which they didn't have. So a few weeks ago, me and my guys went over there and we set up There are 2 public access computers with a scanner, printer, a pay system. It was a whole new network for us. It's small, it's only 2 public computers. But if they get slammed, we might get to add more. But it's new. Up until now, the county law library has been supported by the county IT department. But now it's under our umbrella. And it's the same with Sedona Public Library. We've not been asked to buy hardware for them up until recently, but their director just a few weeks ago, maybe a month, asked if we could help them buy for this round of replacement hardware at the Sedona Law Library. And since we haven't done it for a couple of years, yeah, it's time that they got a share of the money there. And then, of course, how are we funded? We are part, of course, of the county library district. The Coconino County Free Library District is a special taxing district. That's how they do it in Arizona. Last year they collected $7.6 million for the libraries. When the county collects that money, they distribute the money. Most of it comes here to Flagstaff. But there's a lot of different reasons for that. But this is the simplest version of the flow of money I could make. And the library district, there are some administrative costs. For example, we pay the city for legal fees because the city lawyers represent us when they need to. We pay a certain amount of money for all the procurement that we do, all the time that takes. So because the city of Flagstaff administers many of the library district functions, they get an administrative fee. At that same level, county automation fund, that's IT, comes out of that pot too. And so that's where we at. And then whatever money is left over after those 2 things come out, then that all gets split up amongst all the other libraries. And there's a formula to do that that considers what their gate count is, how many people came in the door, how many programs they had, how many computer uses, how many Wi-Fi users. There's a whole list of statistics that we keep. And then that determines how the money gets split up. And that's where, of course, the bulk of the $7 million goes just directly to the libraries. The part that comes off the top there is very small.
You guys are the red part?
Yes.
Okay. So 5% of the 7.2?
Yeah, which last year was about 386,000. And technology is expensive.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And it's only been this way for a few years. Up until about 7 years ago, our budget was 70,000, period. It never went up, it never went down.
Oh my gosh.
But when we signed the last IGA, the one that we're trying to update now, that changed, and we actually started getting a part of the growth money, which is whatever, if it's higher this year than we got last year, everybody gets a piece of that growth. We never got that money before, now we do. So that allows us to have a little more breathing room with the technology. But it allows us to do a lot more things with the libraries too. Before we had to be very strict about what we could afford and what we couldn't. Now we can try new things. And we'll come up with one of those a little bit here too. And I think most of you are old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
Yes.
All right. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Recent IT projects. 3 years ago, we migrated our integrated library system. That's that one big computer system that does everything for us. It's checking books in and out. It's our library catalog. It's our acquisitions. It does everything. That's why it's integrated. Just a couple of fun notes about that. We changed from Cersei Dynamics, which was proprietary software, to Koha, which is open source. For those of you who don't know, open source means that everybody in the world has written this. It doesn't belong to anybody, it's free. But we do pay a company called Bywater Solutions to support it for us. So if we have problems with the software, we can go to them and they'll fix it for us. But changing from the proprietary to the free software saved us about $75,000 a year. Now, the reason it's here in our new projects list is because it has an app. The app isn't new, but they recently updated it so it works much better. So if you guys want to download the library app, go right ahead. It's called Aspen Lita, got the little icon there in the middle. It allows you, once you sign in, you put your library card into the app, then your phone becomes your library card if you'd like it to. It'll generate your barcode so you can go to the service desk and they can scan your phone instead of having to have your library card. But you can search the catalog, you can place holds, you can review items, all that stuff on your phone. So hopefully there'll be a little bit of a marketing campaign on this in the near future to let folks know that we have the app. But it's out there. Aspen Lita, again, for Google Play or at the Apple Store.
Just got it. Just this minute.
And of course, we all remember the old card catalogs. And then some other ones. We redid our library website. This was about 2 years ago we went live. We hired an outside vet. We'd worked on it for several years. Internally, we could never come up with a consensus of how we wanted it to look, what colors we wanted to use, what fonts we wanted to have. So we finally hired an outside vendor to design and build it, someone who had actual, graphical design skills. We hired it was a guy in Michigan, it turned out, Proof Studios. And we, along with the new website, it comes with Drupal as a content management system. That was an upgrade for us because now specified library staff can each update content on any of the pages that they are assigned to without destroying the rest of the website. We're still ironing out exactly who's doing which page and how they're doing it, but they can do it themselves now. Prior to this, they had to call IT and then we could go in and make the changes they wanted. Now they can do it themselves. Like I said, we're still ironing out those details as who's doing what, but the content's there. And then that's just a little screenshot from our research page on the right there. The website is fully responsive, which means whatever device you use to view it, it will reformat itself to fit your device. So if you're on a laptop, it looks one way. If you're on your phone, it looks differently. For example, when you're on your phone and you pull up our website, it's really, really small, but you can see the menus going across the top of the web page there. You probably can't read the letters, but you can see there's words there. When you go to your phone, that collapses down into a hamburger. So you have to click on the hamburger to get to the menu options is all. But it's all still there. Or if you're on a tablet, it'll work on a tablet just as well. It's also ADA compliant, as ADA compliant as it can be. Our web guy, Dave, says ADA compliance is a moving target, and it really is, because those standards change just about every month. But it was designed to be ADA compliant, and we also implemented Accessibility. And that is that little guy down here in the lower right-hand corner of the sheet. You'll see him on our webpage, and you'll see that on other websites too. It does two things for us. One, it allows the end user, if they click on that, and you can go experiment with this at any time, to modify your website. Yeah. If it doesn't fit, if you need the font to be bigger, you can make the font bigger. If you need to reverse the black, text on a white background to be white text on a black background, you can do that. If there are animations on the page that are causing seizures, you can turn those off. There are a lot of different options within Accessibility to handle whatever disability you have that our website is bringing up.
That is amazing. I've seen that logo on some pages and had no idea.
Yeah, just click on it and you'll see all the options. So it allows people to modify our website live in real time as they need it. The other thing that Accessibility does is it monitors our website. So let's say that as one of our staff members is updating the content and they put something in there that's not okay, Accessibility will send us a report at the end of the month and say, hey, this happened and we need to make changes to it to make it better. And that's what the Wave tool does for it too. The Wave tool specifically is for screen readers. If you are completely blind, how do you use a graphical user interface? Graphics do nothing for you if you can't see them. You can't click on anything. So screen readers do exactly that. They read the HTML code in the background, but they strip out all of the command stuff and give you just the content. So you have to design your page to be able to do that too. And if you do something that the screen readers can't interpret, then that messes them up. It also looks for things like dead ends. See, for those of us who have vision, we can always click, we can always get out of it. But if you're doing a screen reader and it's reading down here, it gets to a dead end, what do? Because you can't see what to do. So it also looks for things like that. So we're watching for ADA compliance. When we bought this website, and the one for Flagstaff has been live, like I said, for I think over a year now, we have matching websites for all the libraries in the district. It's the same framework. each library got their own color scheme. That way you can tell that we are together as a group, but everybody has their own different flavor. That was the concept behind it. And we've been working on trying to get those other library websites to go live. Fredonia, I said, is almost ready. I think they went live earlier this week. So the Fredonia website is up and ready. Williams, Danielle is mid-process. She started working on it, got pulled off into other things, so she hasn't finished. But then we're going to start with Amy up at Grand Canyon and Hawk down at Forest Lakes to get their content up to date. Because the website already exists. We just need the local librarians to provide the content to make that front page work for their local community. So those are coming along too. So even though the initial project of getting the website up and running for us is done, we're still working on the county libraries. And then everybody will have nice, accessible websites that they can edit themselves. So that's been a big one. Another thing we did was install security cameras. And you can probably see them around the building. They look like that. Verkada is the vendor that we used. We piggybacked on a contract that the city already had in place. The city is putting a similar security system in many of the city buildings. We have already installed cameras here downtown, the east side, and at Tuba City. There's 13. Here at Flagstaff, there's 9 at the east side and 11 up at Tuba City. And then these cameras are, we started out with a very simple system back in the day of early security camera for the doorbells. Nest was one of the big companies that did that. We bought Nest when Nest was new, and it was a great system. The problem was Google bought Nest and ruined it. So it was no longer good for our purposes, so we had to look for something else, and that's why we went with the Verkada cameras. Just a little bit about them. Your security, if you think of your doorbell cam, I'm assuming some of you have doorbell cams, when there's motion, they stream that video to the web, and you pick it up on your phone. Our cameras are recording 24/7. They record that video in the camera itself. The storage is actually in the camera. And you don't actually stream it to the cloud until I get to log in and call for it. Then it'll start streaming that video back. That way it's not using up our bandwidth. If you have one doorbell on your house, that doesn't use up a lot of your bandwidth. When you have 26 cameras on your network, all of a sudden that's a lot of bandwidth being taken up by the cameras. So by storing the video locally, that cuts down that overhead. We're not using up our internet speed. On the back end of this camera system, we can do a lot of things. One of the things that we're still working out is the people of interest. So that when we have someone, we know it never happens and we hate it, but if someone gets trespassed from the building, we can put their mugshot in the camera system. And if the camera picks that person up walking into the building, it'll send us an alert. It does facial recognition. It also uses AI, hence the 2001 tie-in there. But it uses AI so that if we know someone came in, we don't really know their name, but they had a skateboard and an orange hat. You can type in, find me someone with a skateboard and an orange hat, and it'll search whatever cameras you designate and find all the people who had skateboards and orange hats. It's pretty scary Big Brother stuff, but it's also very powerful to help us find those video clips that we need. And so it can also be used as a people counter. So you can set up, if you have a camera that has a door, it'll count the number of people coming and going. It'll map, the paths that people take. If you're looking to rearrange your furniture, you can find out where not to put it because, everybody's going this way here, don't put a chair there. And it'll track where people move on all the movement in the building as well. It does a lot of different things. We're going to use just at least a little bit of it, really, and it's really just security to pick up the incidents when they happen. The cameras don't stop anything bad from happening, but they do let us analyze what happened after the fact and try to prevent it.
How often have you had to go in and look for something?
Every week.
Oh, really?
Every day?
It could be, it's nice when we have a day we don't have to.
Wow.
So, yeah, it could be a few times a day. We might go a couple days
Uh-huh.
without.
What are you looking for?
Well, we look at, incidents to verify what happened. to see who's involved in it. And, you know, we have the description from staff, but sometimes additional things come up on the camera.
I can give you, for instance, without any names, we just bought our new computers, yay! And we had new computers in the teen room over at the East Side Library. And somebody threw something across the room that smashed into the screen and broke it. So we could go back to the camera to find out which teens were having a party.
Were you able to give that to the police and have them?
That's up to her. We'll decide on that later. It's tough when it comes to kids, but anyway. So anyway, and then this is here as a project that we recently did, and phase 2 is coming soon. I'm going to jump over Orange Boy for just a moment. Phase 2 is coming soon because we're going to put additional cameras in here and to the city outside, because they don't have outside cameras that are useful. And here, because we're not covering all the public areas yet. We've got the hot spots, but not all the public areas. And then then it'll also include the other libraries like Fredonia and Grand Canyon that don't have cameras at all. So they'll be in phase 2 as well. And then to augment our security cameras, we also bought a new software package called Orange Boy that's for incident tracking, so that when we have these things, we can keep track of them more easily than what we're currently doing. So, security cameras. PC replacement project, 185 desktops, 47 laptops. We're about 90% complete. That's as of today. And then phase 2 is coming soon. We're going to do about 35 more computers, because Fredonia and To the City are our last Windows 10 computers out there. And we talked about it and decided that we're kind of in the mood now. We're in that groove that we know what we're doing, and we've got the process for it. So let's go ahead and do it now before we forget all that. And then everything will be finally up to Windows 11. And this graphic just is, you know, like everybody thinks of libraries, it's just books, right? But really, no, it's all that other stuff that you don't see. It's all that iceberg hiding under the ocean. Well, doing IT replacement projects is the same way. Everybody thinks it's just a new computer. Well, no, you have to update the servers, and you have to get the new software. The new operating system has all these new bugs and bells and whistles that you have to work your way around. And getting the computers rolled out is all that stuff below the level of the water. So it takes a lot to do these kind of things. And then as part of that, we also update and review our user privacy measures like deep freeze. What that does for us is, for all the public access computers, every time you sit down and do something, you leave footprints behind, whether it's your username, your password, whatever it is. Deep freeze resets the computer between every user, so it goes back to its initial state. So anything that was on the computer gets wiped out, and you're back to something that nobody else can see what you did. That's similar to our web filtering, because not only does it filter the internet, which we are required to do by federal and state law, pornography, that's the limit of it, but it also protects our users against scams and phishing and known nefarious websites. It'll stop them before it even gets to the end user. So we do a bunch of stuff like that too. All right. Before we started our PC replacement project, we had a bunch of other things that we had to get done first. So we did server replacements at Fredonia and To the City. Williams and Grand Canyon, Forest Lakes, they got new servers with the rollout because they were getting new computers. We did staff computers at Fredonia and To the City as well, because theirs were kind of old. We went up to Page to do computer updates. They're already Windows 11, but they needed software updates. So we had to get that done before we started the rollout. When we got there, oh, by the way, we're rearranging the library, and we need to move this here, we need to move that there. So we ended up moving a bunch of computers around for them too. And we also replaced all of our old printers. So the new printers replaced our copy machines. We don't have to have copy machines in the building anymore, because they're all in ones. They have printers, they're copiers, and they're scanners, and they're color. So we got those placed everywhere. And if you ever wondered why you have to have 6 letters and a capital and a special character and a number, this is why. All right, and then one of our most recent projects is we got Wi-Fi printing worked. It used to be that if you were on our network and you're on your laptop or your phone or your tablet, you couldn't print to our paid printing system. You can set up the printer so people could connect with Bluetooth or whatever, but that would bypass our payment system. So we had to work it out and get this. So we finally, through Envisionware, got this product called Printch. And that allows you can see from the graphic there, you just go to their website, you upload your document, send it to the print, and it shows up in our print queue here. Nothing comes out until you come and pay for it. But it does go through our pay for print system. And the reason for this graphic, where your reading take you today, is because you can print from anywhere. You don't have to be in the building to use this. You can print from home and then come here and pick it up. For example, we have some school teachers, and for whatever reason, they can't print out whatever they need to print at school, so they'll print it here because we're the cheapest place in town, but they can do that now from home and then just come here and pick it up.
What's a release terminal? What does that mean?
That means next to the printers, you send your
Pay
printer.
station, like,
Yeah, that's,
parking meters or something?
it's exactly what it is.
Gotcha. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but you send your print jobs, they go into a queue on the server, and then you walk up to the print release station, say, that one's mine, here's my 15 cents,
Gotcha.
it's printed. And that's how it works. So that was our new one, and people have started using it already, so that's a good sign. And then upcoming IT projects, the things we haven't started with yet. Well, actually, some of these we have. TechLogic is the company that we went with for RFID technology. And they support the AMH, the bookstore out here in circulation that you can see. There's also one at the east side. And we pay an annual maintenance contract on that hardware. And we're trying to get a 5-year, you pay that every year. And we're trying to get a 5-year renewal on that because it'll save us about $42,000 over the course of the 5 years versus paying it once a year. So we're working on that. With the same company, we're going to do an RFID conversion up at the Page Library. Ultimately, we'd like to do the entire county, all the libraries, but Page is first because they've been chomping at the bit to get that done. So we're working on with the same company to get that done. And then, of course, credit card payments. And you think everybody can take credit cards, and yes, they can. You can have a Square, and it's very easy. But we have some other intervening things we have to work with. It has to interface with our printing system, has to interface with our copying system, which is separate from printing, and then has to work online so people can pay their online library fees, and then it has to work at the desks, point of sale. And getting something to do all 4 of those things and satisfy the city's need for the accounting reports has been a tough nut to crack. But we're working on it, and hopefully we'll have some success here soon. And then I thought that meme was hilarious.
So is that gonna work through the printer, like you just like take your card and scan it on the printer and you go up to the desk and do it?
It would be at the print release station. So
Oh, okay.
at the point where you go to pay for it, that's where it'll take your credit card.
Okay.
Or if you're doing it online, you just log into your library account and pay for it there. Like PayPal would do that for us.
Right.
The city didn't like PayPal. So, but then if you just go to the service desk and need to pay a late fee, just give me a credit card. And then we're going to try gaming computers. That was a request from staff. Most of the computers we buy are about $1,100 a piece. Gaming computers, middle of the road, are about $5,000. So we haven't gone down that road before because they were out of price. But now that we have a little more money, as you saw in that earlier slide, we can give this a try and see how it works. So we're going to try to get a couple at each library. In addition to gaming, which is, it's a valid use, some of the staff want to do video editing classes. So we'll use them for that too. We have a couple of internet service provider upgrades that we've always got on the back burner, waiting for things to happen. Grand Canyon and Forest Lakes are the 2 right now that I'm hoping that we'll be able to make better. And then finally, Wi-Fi vendor. Wi-Fi is fairly recent. I mean, we think of it as being ubiquitous, but it hasn't been around that long. And it's really turned into a monster. Maintaining a Wi-Fi network the size of ours at 8 different libraries, and they change, the security requirements change. But we can hire an outside vendor to do that. We can afford to do that now too. So we're gonna have somebody come in and manage our Wi-Fi network for us because it is such a high profile and highly used service that libraries offer everywhere. We just can't afford to be down. and it's more than we can handle on our own. So we're gonna get help for that. And then, of course, network hardware is the next thing. We've replaced all the computers. Now all the switches and routers and firewalls and everything that makes them work also needs to be upgraded. And we'll do Fredonia first because they just upgraded their ISP to get a much faster internet speed. But their network hardware is not fast enough to manage it yet. So they're gonna go first and they'll get gigabit speeds up there now. And that was it. So I talked really fast to get through all those slides. I probably took too much time to begin with, but y'all have any questions about anything IT, whether I talked about it or not? Yeah, Shannon, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna, first of all, just gonna say thank you. I feel like that was really informative. I did want to say thanks for the app part. I like while we were talking, I added the app and renewed a book that was overdue. So I was excited about that, but I did have one question. About the cameras, just out of curiosity, I know you said the footage and stuff is stored on the camera. Is there a limitation to how much data it can and how often is it purged or that kind of thing? I'm just kind of more out of curiosity's sake, really.
Each camera holds about 30 days worth of video footage. So if we want to download something, we need to get it within that first 30 days or else it's gone. And then once we download the clips, we can just download anything we want as an MP4 clip. And then we can save that forever on our local servers or up in the cloud. But the camera itself is about 30 days.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, thank you.
And what I didn't say about that as well is there's an online interface for all of this. It works on any computer. You just go to the website, you log in, multi-factor authentication is very secure. And then it works, and that's where you view everything from.
Thank you.
A social media question, I sort of IT related, but I know the library, I used to see a lot of posts from this library on like Facebook saying, oh, we're having a fun, thing about plants and or something, or have books about mountains, whatever. And I see almost nothing. And I wonder if it's no longer, if no one is pushing those out, or is it a Facebook algorithm where they're just not letting me see it, even though I'm following?
And I know that a couple of years ago, they did an update on Facebook that changed the algorithm and was really favoring the paid for subscriptions. So it used
Because I am
to,
following, how
Yeah.
you do it, liked it or whatever you have to do. But I see almost nothing anymore. It's just gotten.
Who's doing that now?
Em does that. And in fact, when I talked to her today, she was working on getting everything out. She puts them in a variety of media. So you can always try following on Instagram as well.
It comes out pretty regularly. I see it all the time. The last
Yeah.
post was 3 hours ago on
Okay, so I
stories.
need to go in there
And start liking,
Yeah.
like
liking
everything
them,
that's
yeah.
on there, so I know that I won't see it again.
3 hours ago, there's a post. 4 hours ago, there was a post.
Okay,
Another 4 hours ago. So it's being
Okay.
regularly
good.
posted.
I wasn't sure if it was just what it decided to show me versus what was actually out there, so.
And there's a calendar you can go in and set up posts ahead of time, which I'm sure she's doing. So she's setting
cool.
that post to go out at certain times.
Okay.
But
Because I just want to share them. I like having those posts because I usually share them so my Flagstaff friends will see what's going on. So I'll just go in there and like everything.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll start showing it to me again.
That, it would be our marketing library who handles all
Yeah.
the social media stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And I like your question because it points out IT. It's IT related. I mean, you're using your phone technology. But our IT staff, we provide the tools that all the rest of the staff use to do their jobs. We don't actually do the Facebook posts, but
I
we
didn't think
provide the
so.
support for everything else that they do.
Right.
That's what we do. We're in the background. If we do our jobs correctly, we're invisible. Many days we're much too visible. But we should be invisible most of the time.
That's great. Does anybody else have any other questions? I guess not. It looks like we have 2 action items today. And the first one is called Review Behavior Policy and Matrix with Markup.
Since Amelia is not here, do you want to talk, Jennifer, a little about the policy committee and just some of the major updates or changes to the new.
Okay, I don't actually have it in front of me, but we, hold on. Oh, now I have it, okay, now I have it in front
I
of
have
me.
to think that was sent out.
I was going back and forth today and I.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so, our other policy, I think I might have, I don't remember, I didn't talk about that yet here. Our prior policy, didn't hit some points that have turned out to be really problematic in the library. And one of those is intoxication. In Arizona, it's not against the law to be publicly intoxicated. So we were having to deal with people coming in daily, a lot of people coming in, and their behavior often worsened as the day goes on. And we couldn't do anything about it until they actually started being very disruptive. So one of the points that we really wanted to hit was that intoxication element, so that when we see somebody that's obviously, you know, behaving in a manner that has a lot of signs of intoxication, that we can approach that person and maybe nip it in the bud, you know. So that's one of the big things here. Also, there were some things in the policy that like harassment, just general harassment was put right with sexual misconduct, you know. So there was like, they should have been together. So we kind of put them in a more, we separated them out and looked to make sure that we were looking at all types of behavior. And then finally, we had before we didn't really have we have a process of looking at the matrix and deciding who gets what kind of consequence, right? But it wasn't really, it wasn't easy to follow and it wasn't as consistent as it could be. So now we've created a method of looking at what happens and also moving up people to higher, bigger consequences. So if somebody comes in now intoxicated one day, we say go home. If they come in the second day, we might say, okay, this is becoming habitual. You need to not come in for a week. So it has incremental. So we don't. The problem is that you have the biggest number of problems with the fewest number of people. The police department have also talked about this. So we're trying to, deal with these habitual situations. We want people to do better and come back. We don't want to exclude anybody from the library, but when it gets to the point that people's behavior are then in and of that themselves excluding other people, that's problematic, and we've actually seen that happen at East. We've had people that have talked about how I don't go to East anymore because of situations where I don't want to bring my kids in there. So it's a true issue that we're facing, and hopefully making some of these changes, having the cameras, having, streamlining incident reporting, increasing better communication, and really basing it on a solid policy that we can apply across the board and it is fair to people. It's not like one day, it does leave room for staff judgment, but I think it is a little bit better outlined what can happen rather than all based on kind of a wobbly, kind of base, which I feel like the last matrix was wasn't as solid as this one, let's just put it that way. So did everybody have a chance to look through it?
Was the first document the old one and then
Yeah, the one that
First
says
one's
May of
2021.
2021. Yeah, so the second
the
one is
current one?
So this one over here.
And Amelia was gonna put that in markup, but it was just so much, yeah, it was so much
It's hard to read.
different, that it
Yeah.
was actually more confusing instead of helpful.
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like this part of it is.
Yeah,
This
that's
whole new policy.
part of it is,
Consequence durations.
right, it kind of outlines a little bit more. It's not something that is set in stone, because there has to be some judgment. You can't put everything in a document. You're kind of giving it general, this is generally what we're gonna do. And that's why it does say, library administration has the discretion to advance the discipline to a higher offense level. So like harassment might just be somebody cussing and saying calling my person's name, or it could be they're going on for 20 minutes. So one's gonna deserve a higher level of consequence.
I see there's like class 1, class 2, minor violations.
And the other thing that's worth sharing with the board is, after the policy update committee came up with this recommendation, that went to our legal department. So it's already been through the city legal department, and there were a few changes, not much that was substantial, but just for your information, it's already been through the legal department.
So it's basically, this is being mentioned today because we're not gonna get that markup. Is that what you're saying, pretty much? It seemed like we looked at this thing before.
Yeah, last time, and also, the packet didn't really get out to the board much in advance of the last meeting, and so we thought it was important. This is a really important policy, and we wanted the board to have plenty of time to read through, and if you had any questions, concerns, bringing those up at this time.
I think it looks pretty comprehensive, but it still allows a latitude for staff to make a judgment call when they have to. And there's a lot of things that are listed.
And then I'm sure things will happen that are not on there, because it's like, could you can only put so many.
I thought anyone would do that.
Yeah.
I get that. Let's see. So are we ready to call for a vote on this then?
To approve it.
To approve or not approve this. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the new behavior policies for the library?
I'll motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second that.
2 seconds.
That's
Phil said
We got-
second.
we got a third.
Double dipping.
I heard Catherine first, so I will go with Catherine.
Yes.
Winning.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's been voted on. We now have to review video surveillance policy. It was interesting seeing the presentation about the video
Is
surveillance.
this the first one?
It's a brand new
Brand
policy.
new. I don't see it.
And yeah,
It's at the very bottom.
Is it the?
After
Video's
the
in there
behavior
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I see.
And that one has been through legal as well.
Uh-huh.
Everybody needs to take a look through it. Remember having any questions? Seems pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions about the surveillance system, then?
One thing that I think it might be good to mention is, we're very, very concerned about privacy. And it's the law that we need to keep our patrons' information and use of the library private. There are some caveats that we're allowed to use that information. So for example, if somebody's breaking something or having a fight, we have that on film. We can share that, for example, with the police if we need to prosecute or we need their help in a situation. That's permitted. We can share information if we need to bill somebody, for example, with the city billing. We can share some of that information. We don't share the surveillance. The police cannot connect to our surveillance. It would be against the law for them to do that. And if it's anything that's unrelated to library operations, they actually have to give us a subpoena.
Oh.
Yeah, because we're just not able to give them that. So we're pretty strict on it. And that's another reason we wouldn't even want to keep the footage past what we keep it.
So just 30 days.
Yeah, we don't wanna keep it past that at all, no.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you, that's a good background.
Yeah, that's helpful. Is anybody ready to make a motion to approve the video surveillance policy?
So are these cameras pretty new?
We had cameras before, but didn't have a policy.
Okay.
You increased the number of cameras?
Yes.
What did you have before?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think you said there were like 13 now or something.
I mean, like at the east side, they have 9 now. They used to have, I think, 6 or 5,
Okay.
not very many.
So it's not like it's going from 2 to
No.
400 or something.
I think here it's 13.
But we used to have, I think, maybe 7 or 8.
Okay, and you said you were gonna be getting some more here as well.
There's some blind spots that would be helpful to have.
It'd be helpful to know where they are.
Well, you have to understand, we don't just sit around all day looking at these cameras. We only go looking when something happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're spying on people at all. It's just, but when something happens, that's the only time we go to look.
Oh, yeah.
It would be very boring to watch all of that.
Yeah.
Look, people are enjoying books, and they're still enjoying books, and everyone's just sitting there, you know? Yeah, but it is very nice to be able to point out, you know, if there's a he said, she said thing, if there's violence, if there's anything that you need footage of.
Yeah, there was one, for example, there was one time when somebody brought in, it wasn't a real gun, but we didn't know, and he said he found it in the library, and by studying the footage, we could see that he put it in a certain spot. And so we had the evidence.
So they
Yeah.
can put it in the spot so they could then report.
Well, they just did it really quickly, but because of our footage, we were able to ascertain that, you know,
Oh, wow.
and if somebody has a fight has happened a couple weeks ago in the hallway there,
Oh, no.
you can really see exactly what happened, how it started,
And it protects the library from lawsuits.
Oh, okay.
But also, I mean, there was an incident over at the East Side Library where a kid told their parents that they had lost their violin at the library. Somebody stole it, but our video footage showed that when he came into the library, he did not have a violin. You know, which got us off the hook.
Oh, gosh.
Nice excuse, they probably left it on the bus or something, they won't tell their parents or something.
Great example.
Oh, so it's still.
yeah, that is
That's very good.
violins are expensive.
Oh, yeah. Rented them
And although
many
not
years ago.
us, at the Prescott Library,
Suzuki.
if you've never been there, there's a couple of stairs right inside the front door, but there's an elevator. And somebody in a wheelchair decided they had to go up the stairs. And of course crashed and was gonna sue the library. And it's like, well, you know that the elevator is working, and then, you know, the video footage showed that. And the elevator was working on the day while they were there, and it saved them a lawsuit.
I bet. Yeah, that's, I didn't know that. It's very interesting. And it's important to protect the library for anybody saying, oh, I tripped and fell because the carpet was bunched up, and you can look at it, nope, it wasn't, or whatever. I know people do that in stores a lot, they slip and then try to bring a lawsuit. So, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the video surveillance policy as presented?
I can move to
So-
approve it.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
This time I got Frank.
All right.
That too isn't bad.
We'll have to review the camera footage.
Yeah. Where's the camera?
They have one in here, yeah.
We need those little buttons like the game shows.
Yeah.
All right, do we have anything else on the agenda? So that was,
Yeah, just informational
Oh,
items, if
okay.
anybody
are
had.
there any informational items from board members? Requests? agenda for future meetings.
That's gonna be the director's report, beyond books and proposed, bookmobile art wrap.
There's a lot of those to look at.
That's great. All right, well, if we don't have any more things to contribute, then the next board meeting is April 23rd, and we can adjourn at 2:06 p.m. Cool.
Thanks for running the meeting, Lisa. Sorry I was late.
No problem.
And good luck, Linda.
Melinda,
I was gonna ask, are you planning to do any retirement at all, or are you just?
Not right at the moment.
Good for you. My husband said I failed retirement.